Fischer.
Hey, y'all, we're just waiting for Carl to join us. You get a couple of old guys here trying to figure it out. Whoa! Fish, you're here. How are you, man?
Trying to get with it. How you making out?
Oh, there we go. Good, good, real good, real good. Just we'll give it a few minutes here, let a few other people join in.
Absolutely. I got to work out my camera angles anyway.
Well, no kidding. Well, every angle's a good angle for you, man.
And yeah, I'm big enough. I'll capture the whole screen.
That's it. I know the feeling. I know the COVID-19. That means we're going to put on what, 19 pounds during this isolation?
Dude, I was fat before this virus. I'm going to be fatter now. It's ridiculous. It's out of control, right?
I know, man. I know. Well, I got my first COVID isolation haircut yesterday from my wife. She did a pretty good job, actually.
Yeah. At least you
Yeah.
put a bowl. You know, the old, when you were a kid, your mom put a bowl over your head to cut your bangs.
I pretty well had that. It looked like a German helmet.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy, man. Cool.
Nice. So where are you now, man? Are you down in Florida or in New York?
Yeah, I'm in St. Pete, Florida, at my house here. So
Nice.
yeah, it's I missed New York. I got out of New York like 2 days before the lockdown happened, which was great.
Right.
We were actually upstate. We were upstate visiting, dealing with some stuff up by my wife's old house, my wife's family's old house. So we got out 2 days prior to everything shutting down, which was good, man.
Right. Oh, good. Good. And you got some nice weather down there. At least you can get outside and, get some fresh air.
Well, it's been great. I mean,
Yeah.
today it's funny because people are flipping out down here. It's 62 or 3 degrees, raining, and people are miserable. I'm like, this is probably the last cold spell we'll get. I'm like, enjoy it, man. I was out this morning in shorts and a t-shirt, loving life.
Right.
Man. What about you?
Yeah.
Crazy winter up there or what?
Well, my wife and I spent most of the winter down in Mexico. So the original plan was 3 months.
Okay.
We got 10 weeks down there, then had to come home early.
Where in Mexico?
But a little town called Tulum. It's south of Playa del Carmen.
Oh,
And it's just a cool little town, little hip. It's just a cool little town, little hip town. There's a great beach there. We rent a condo, great little pool.
Playa del Carmen, so it's also near it's on the peninsula, Isla Mujeres.
Yes. Yeah, down that way.
Playa del Carmen. I have. I actually played there
Nice.
with Billy, believe it or not.
That's very cool. Very cool.
No, it was with Blood, Sweat and Tears. We had a gig with Blood, Sweat and Tears in Playa del Carmen.
Well, that's tough.
Yeah, it was horrible.
No kidding.
What a great little town, man. So you had a little cottage over there, huh?
Yeah, we rent a condo, and it's a nice complex. There's a nice little pool there. The beach, we bought bicycles. Their bicycles are down there, so we just go down to the beach, go into town for some margaritas, go to the grocery store, whatever. Hit a taco cart on the way. The street food there is incredible, just amazing, man.
Well,
Yeah,
great.
so I'd rather be doing that than shoveling this Canadian snow that we get up here. It's ridiculous.
Perfect
Ridiculous.
tired, right?
Yeah, man. So it looks like it's almost 1 o'clock. And we have a lot of people joining in. And thanks for joining us here today. I'm Brian Scriver with GR Mouthpieces, and here today with my good friend Carl Fischer. And basically, if you haven't heard Carl Fischer before, then you've been isolated, which we all are. So most likely you've all heard Carl at some point. Carl's played with many, many big names, which we're going to get to in a little bit. So Carl, how are you making out with this isolation deal?
Going out of my freaking mind, Brian. Tell you what.
Yeah.
It's
I know.
My wife said to me the other day, goes, "Don't you have to be on the road soon?" I'm doing stuff. I'm doing stuff I didn't even know I had. I'm like, what?
Right.
God, man. It's good though. It's you try to look at it as a positive. Everybody's going through the same thing. So I've been working on some new music and working on taking care of. I have a nice garage over my studio, a studio over my garage. So I
Nice.
got that sorted out, and just trying to take advantage of his time and working on, like I said, working on some new music and just hanging out and
Excellent.
rekindling old relationships.
So
So
your wife hasn't got your bags packed and she's not trying to book you any tours anywhere or anything like that, then you're
I,
good, right?
I mean, you never know. I might go downstairs. It might be a plane ticket.
There you go. So, for my own interest and probably a lot of people that are watching, how did you get started playing trumpet?
um, my dad was a great trumpet player. My late father, he was a trumpet player in New York. He grew up in the border of Queens, and so I wanted to be just like my father. Unfortunately, my dad did not want me to play trumpet because he actually tried to teach my older brother trumpet, and it didn't work out so well. So my father was
Right.
very opposite. He was like, you know what? I'm not going to push anything on Carl. And he used to have a great. He had a band for years, man. He'd play club dates and socials and stuff like this, and they would rehearse in the basement of my house. So I'd go downstairs the day after rehearsal. I love playing drums. So my first instrument was drums, believe it or not. I
Nice.
had an anger management problem. I busted the skins on the drums even when I was like 5. So I kept on grabbing the trumpet, and finally my dad was like, "Okay, I guess this is what you gravitate to." So that's kind of what that was the impetus of the whole sickness that I have now. You know.
No, very cool. I've met your dad, and he was like a older version of you. Very funny man, nice man, just a
Nice.
sweetheart. He's just a great
Yeah.
guy. So did your dad actually teach you the basics on the horn?
Yeah. He would go through. He got me situated with sound and air and scales and stuff like this. And again, he was very cognizant of not pushing anything down my throat. But was
Right.
one of the once I got my scales and some sounds together, my dad was very smart, man. Instead of having me like work out of a book immediately, my dad had me working on my ear immediately. So he would play once I knew like a C scale and D scale, he would play a melody in C. I'd play a measure of it, and I'd have to figure it out. And then next thing I know, I'm playing 2 bars of it. So he would go by 4-bar phrases, and he wouldn't let me
Right.
see his fingers, that type of deal. And I learned, I can't tell you how many tunes I learned. Probably, I would say over 100 tunes, standard tunes. He taught me that way in those keys. So like, I'll hear a tune still to this day. Funny, Billy was playing a tune, a standard. I don't even know the name of it. I heard him like, wait a minute, I know it. I still don't know the name of the freaking song. It brought me back to my dad teaching me.
Amazing.
Well, he gave me that stuff, and then he was very. And I found a picture. I have it in my office. I got to find it somewhere. There was a gentleman that my dad played with, the drummer, Vinny Synchromati was his last name. Synchromati. Vinny was his son. His dad's name is escaping me right now. Maybe he was a junior. But long story short, my dad gave Vinny his first trumpet, and Vinny was my first trumpet teacher. So
Nice.
yeah, it was cool. And Vinny beat me up, man. Vinny was good that way. It's like, all right, now let's buckle down and get into the etudes and stuff like that. So that's kind of that was a great way for me to learn. Half of it by ear, and then Vinny was very diligent with with the Arbin's book and all that stuff. That made
That's
him a
amazing.
good player.
That's and I guess your dad, without even really realizing it, taught you how to reset the horn every time. If he's teaching you 4-bar phrases, you're not putting the horn on your face for an hour. You're resetting, and that's incredible.
I never thought
Fantastic.
of it that way. Yeah, I never thought about the set. Again, he was like me. Well, he had the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. you know?
Right. Right. Works as you get older too, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if I could, so did you have any chop issues or anything as a younger student coming up through the ranks? Did you have to go through braces or any of that kind of stuff?
I did have many issues. They were a little bit later in life. I skated the brace thing. I should have got them. I do have an overbite. My teeth,
Right.
and I want to say when I was in ninth grade, it got to the point, man. My dentist was all about put me in braces. I'm like, bro, that ain't happening. That ain't gonna happen. So my dad totally like almost beat the guy up. But then he started talking about me having an underbite, and this is where it got serious. In ninth grade, they wanted to cut my jaw, my lower jaw, and extend it
Oh,
to be level. And again, man, I thought my dad was gonna beat this guy to death, man. I'm like, no, you're not messing with my son's jaw. And we just kind of left him alone, you know. So
Oh,
that would
man, that could have ruined your good looks and everything. Holy smokes.
probably would have helped him. I need all the help I can
Yeah.
get there, sweetheart.
Nice. Did you have any other influential teachers as you were coming up as a student?
Oh man, it's a great question. Yeah, I was very fortunate. I had a lot of great teachers. So, you know, going down the list, Vinny was my first great teacher. My first jazz teacher, Vinny was great with the fundamentals and just getting things together. You know, my dad was first, Vinny. My first jazz teacher was in 7th and 8th grade, was a great trumpet player in New York named Cecil Bridgewater. We used to play with the
Oh, yeah.
Mel Lewis band. He was with Max Roach. When I was studying with him, he was playing with Max Roach. He was in Max's band. And he introduced me. Cecil would let me hang with him. He'd bring me into the city. I remember hanging out with him at the Blue Note when he was playing with Max Roach. I remember him introducing me to Byron Stripling when Byron was playing lead in the Basie band. He brought me around. And for 2 years, all we did was concentrate on one solo. And it was a Clifford Brown. I'll never forget it. It was articulation and Clifford Brown analyzing the Clifford Brown Joy Spring solo. And I still talk about this, man. It was such a great experience, articulation, and just trying to lay lines down. So he was influential in my playing. I moved to Florida in 9th grade. So I grew up in New York up to 9th grade, moved down to Florida, went to Performing Arts High School here. The first year, they didn't have a jazz department. I was forced to learn classical. I had a classical teacher there, and I wasn't really about it. I wanted to be a jazz guy. I knew I wanted to be a jazz guy.
Right.
Probably the best thing I learned, you know. So he had me doing, you know, the Hyde and the Hummel, and it was horrible, man. I discovered though, man, if I played piccolo trumpet, I was a better classical piccolo trumpet player than a B flat trumpet player.
Wow.
Sonically, I swung everything on a B flat trumpet. Playing piccolo, I could get by. I mean, again, nothing was pretty by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm glad I did it because it really helped me out. So did the classical thing, and then I got really very fortunate with a great teacher. Was playing in a band, a local band here in Florida, a great singer named Belinda Womack. She had a relationship with Nat Adderley, the great cornet player with Cannonball and Nat. And again, man, he lived very close, about an hour away from where I was living. I'd drive to his house and hang. And he would say, I mean, I actually wrote a song about it. He would, I ain't going to teach you nothing, Carl. We're going to hang out. And kind of like we're doing now, we talk about concepts. And then occasionally he'd give me like little tidbits and then, hey, go home and work on this and come back. Very rarely did I play. So it was actually Hanging with Nat was the original name of the song.
I know the tune. I know the album. Absolutely.
Yeah, before I go on, I got to also say, around this time, well, no, I'm gonna, can I continue to do my little thing? Is this interesting, or am I putting everybody to sleep here?
Uh,
I'm falling asleep.
they're saying go on. Yeah. Continue.
So that was influential, you know, and then I would always, you know, I moved back to New York, and I got to hang a lot and see a lot. John Faddis was very influential. We talk, again, concepts. I run to him. He would help me out and throw me gigs occasionally. But I remember just before I moved to New York having major chop problems. I went through, and I can go through my Mouthpiece thing since we're talking trumpet heads and everything.
Right.
I was having some issues. I didn't have range, man. I went through periods where I felt like I had good range, but I wanted to be a jazz guy. That was my thing. I was into Clifford. I was into Dizzy. I was into Miles, Freddie. Those were my guys, you know. Wynton at the time was, I was very interested in his playing too. But, you know, Maynard was a big influence in my playing, always was. And as Maynard would call it, everybody would run into being the 5-minute hero. You could play high notes for 5 minutes and then.
That's right.
And so for a while, I was the 5-minute hero. I'd have chops and not have them all of a sudden. So I was having these chop problems. I mean, to the point where I couldn't even play at high C anymore. I played like a double G, and then all of a sudden I couldn't play high C. So I was flipping out. I ran into this friend of mine down in Florida. Said, hey, there's a guy named Scott Holbert, and he was in the Army Field Band traveling at that time. He says he's making mouthpieces, and he's a Doc Reinhardt devotee. which if anybody doesn't know Doc Reinhardt had the pivot system, and he could probably sort you out. So look him up. And so he was coming through town, and I called him, and he said, my hotel's here, come by. Came by, he had me sorted out. He checked my whole Reinhardt out. That was my first introduction to Doc Reinhardt. He sorted me out probably within an hour. I'm like, he goes, I make mouthpieces. I'm not trying to push you on it. I do it by myself, blah, blah, blah. So that developed a relationship with Scott. And I was with Scott for a long time. He helped me out with my shop, made me a mouthpiece. And that was the beginning of my turning my whole mantra and my sound around, man. My sound blossomed. I had range again, had consistent range.
Right.
And a lot had to do with that flat rim. So
that was a mouthpiece I think you were playing when we first met you. That was a mouthpiece you were playing.
That's where I'm going with this. This is where you come in.
Right.
And Gary. So now I'm, I moved back up to New York, and should I do this now or should I do this later? Walk over to my mouthpieces. So are we still talking? Yeah. Well, I'll do it later.
Yeah, we can chat.
What's that?
Yeah, we can chat, man. Okay. We'll have lots of time. Lots of time for that. We can chat. There'll be people asking questions. So right. Yeah.
So the Scott mouthpiece thing was, Scott was making them in the lathe in his garage, man. And he was, we'd have things play, a typical, everybody's done it, especially when you're younger. Take the drill and drill things out, and like all the things that GR and the things I learned throughout doing the math. We're doing everything that could be possibly, just the components were way off. But what was amazing is this rim was very flat. And, even my dad, going back into old school, my dad was playing like the old Parduba double cups, the 5-star Harry James. So I tried them.
Right.
Another guy who died, I got to laugh, had me come to Staten Island was Jerome Catlett. I remember lost in Staten Island when I was a kid looking for his place. He'd make me like a double cup, and I could play for a week, and then I'd be shot. I was like going through this madness, man. So I'm on Maynard's band. I'm still playing Scott's mouthpiece, the first one he makes me. And I go to, I think the first guy I went to was Black and Hill. Greg Black.
Greg Black, yeah.
Yep, Greg Black had a shop, and they were great. And I said, I want a copy of this, because Scott could not copy. He could not make he made me other mouthpieces that were supposed to be the same as what I played, but they weren't. They just weren't. They didn't have the consistency. So I wanted something. So Black and Hill, at that time, Faddis, I was hanging with Faddis a lot, and they were into those heavy fat boy shanks.
Right.
So I got this big shank, and that was probably the closest mouthpiece I played. Still wasn't exactly like Scott's. So I wanted a spare, because I'm a klutz, man. I drop shit. Excuse my language. I dropped it. So like, I'm afraid, man, if I lost this mouthpiece or dropped it, I don't know what I'd play on, because that rim was so unconventional. So fast forward, I think to 96, I see your handsome mug and Gary's ugly wizard face.
That's it.
And we're G, right? 96, would that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so. Yeah.
We go back a long time, man. This is over 23 years, 24 years we're talking. And we're
talking some gray. We're talking, well, yeah, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, this was back in the day. And I just started working with, I remember finishing up a tour with Maynard. I was still out with Maynard, and I befriended Fred Powell, who was at the time, he was working for UMI Con. We were just coming out with the Con Vintage 1. He brought me on board to help with research and development. So I was hanging with UMI Con booth. UMI is not even in existence anymore, right? I mean, it's called Summer now. Summer bought it, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Summer. So UMI was before, but anyway, it was Con Trumpets. And Fred said, man, there's these guys, GR Technologies, because I told him my plight with this mouthpiece thing. And we're trying to get the horn dialed in. And, man, every mouthpiece I put in this horn, and, he's like, just do yourself a favor. This guy over at this booth, there's 2 freaks over there. Go talk to him. I come over with my attitude. I'm like, hey, I got this mouthpiece. Can you make it for me? And both you guys, and this is why I want to talk about this whole thing with Brian and Gary. I'm like a street guy. I'm not really well schooled, even though I'm a doctor now. Dr. Feelgood.
I know, I saw that. Congratulations, Doc.
Thanks. It's crazy, bro. But it's like, experience. I'm like, so I come in, hey, can you make me a copy like every other geek? Can you make me a copy of this? I think I know what I want. Gary's like, he looks at it and he goes through it and he goes, yeah, I can make a copy of it, but it's going to be better. It's going to be more efficient. It's going to be this. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Just make me a copy of this. This is all I want. Well, you know, it has this continuities in it, and it's got this, and I can improve it. I don't want you to improve it. And we're going round and round. I remember it was closing time, and you're looking at me and jump in. I mean, because I remember both you guys like, oh boy, here comes. It was a funny scene. So finally, Gary's like, listen, I'm going to make you this mouthpiece, and if you don't like it, I'll stick it where the sun don't shine. That's
right.
I was told him, like, now you're talking my language, man. You know.
Right. Absolutely.
Not only did he make it, he made it within a week. It had the same feel, exact same feel of what I was playing, and I thought it was a joke, man. It played so more efficient, better sound, more overtones. It was just like, it was almost a joke. I'm like, yeah, well, you know, you lucked out. He sent me another one the next day. It was the same, exactly the same. I'm like, oh yeah, he just made two. And then, you know, Gary's like, oh, well, we can do this and we could do this. And sends me another one that's even better. You know, had even more overtone. I'm just like, what? Slapped up. So that changed my whole outlook. And you were very influential because not only did you help me out, you were like the middleman. You know, Gary was like this wizard. I call him the wizard. You were like the normal cat. It's like, Carl, just calm your New York ass. It's going to be all right. You know? And then also, I have to tell you, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, and I probably, you know, I should be more vocal about it. You believed in me, man. You actually made my first website. You helped me with my first website. I remember I was in Canada. You hooked me up with my website. And, man, you gave me a social presence in '96. I mean, if it wasn't for you, man, I mean, you really kind of laid out, man, if you're going to do this, you know, do it this way, and let's make it right. And, man, I can't thank you enough for being.
Oh, cheers, brother.
Seriously, it's killer. Thank you.
Yeah, man. I remember you coming here and killing and going through, I don't know, a couple racks of ribs and a few drinks. It was a good time. You also got us backstage with Billy, which was fantastic.
Yeah, but thank you, bro.
Man.
That was a different time, though, too. I'm talking about way back when we were doing, it was before Dynamod. It was, I know, because you in Canada, I had a Canadian website, because you put it together.
Right. You know what? I'd actually forgotten all that.
Like 97, 98. This is way before Billy, man. I was still on my main days. We were coming the ribs were another time, but we came up and drank and ate.
That's right.
Your son was like 8 years old or 6 years old. How old is your son?
Yeah, he's 30. Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah.
7 or 8. So
yeah.
Crazy.
You're right, man. I'd totally forgotten about that. Holy smokes.
You had, you know, and it's my whole thing is loyalty. You know, I mean, your word is as good as, you know, word, man. You're only as good as your word. And you guys are, you know, and I'm roping Gary into this too. I mean, you guys have been steadfast in what you believe in and who you believe in. And that's very, very important in this day and age, bro. So, you know, as much love here for you guys.
Well, you know, we're both trumpet players too, and remember playing at the brass conference together, doing that Bill Chase thing, and you came in and cooked everyone. You cooked everyone. But we always wanted to give people the best product. When we first started, it was best product, best customer service as we could, and never lie to anyone.
Yep.
That's it. 3 simple rules, right?
Yeah, no, I you know, again, when I get up, I got something from that brass conference that you probably forgot about too. That Gary's mother.
Okay.
Gary's late mother, man. You know, you're gonna remember.
Yeah. I think I've got one in here too. It's like the tiger skin trumpet bag.
It's way before the
hat. You got that?
It matches the shirt.
That's right.
But everybody will see it later. Oh, God.
I believe I have a photo of you wearing that hat, if I'm not mistaken.
There was also something else that went along with the hat. Again, you probably forgot. This is going back. This was '98.
Oh, it was the embroidered trumpet bag.
Exactly. Yeah, Brian,
that's hilarious.
Brian is also very humble. Brian had this the Chase tribute thing. What was the name of that band that you had? It was killer.
I called it Primal Therapy.
Primal Therapy, bro. It was killer. It was all Chase stuff. And I remember
Yeah.
talking to you before we went to the brass conference. So we had like Winston Berg, Walt Johnson. You had a lot of trumpet players come up and sound.
A lot of guys came through. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of guys came out, and I was very fortunate. I got to play on things, and but
Yeah.
Brian was kicking butt and taking names, man. It was, Brian's a very accomplished trumpet player, but Brian also, they have a sense of humor like I do. So Brian goes, we have something for GR Tech, blah, 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 and presents it to me. So it's a nice pink trumpet bag with my name on it. Spelled wrong, by the way. You spelled my name wrong. But my name's Bon. I was playing with this guy at the time, too. His name was Esteban. It was a flamenco guitar player. He was famous on, he used to do Home Shopping Network, and he'd sell like 1 million guitars. That was actually the first learning experience for me about marketing and selling things, man. He was a master. He'd sell like 1 million guitars in a year. I was like, dude, out of crazy. But on the back of this, on this back of this trumpet bag, you put something that was, I can't really say on PGTV. Great. It was great. It was great. It was great. But it was a killer band. So that was my beginning with these characters from '96 on.
Yeah, absolutely. And wow, it was I can't remember. It wasn't the first time I met you. It must have been. I went to upstate New York to catch you with Maynard. So you must have a couple of maybe 1 or 2 PG rated stories that from being on the road with me. First of all, how did you get the Maynard gig? I'm sure every trumpet player here, when they were younger, if they're not young now, myself, I wanted that gig. Yeah. Everyone wanted the Maynard gig when they were younger.
I was very fortunate. It's kind of a long story. The Cliff Notes version. I remember you coming out too. I remember you came with a whole bunch of Canadians, if I remember right. I think Chris came with you. But I remember that night. I remember things like, was that Mexico, New York? Is that ring?
How do you remember? How do you remember this? I think you're right. It was right around that area. Yeah.
I did one of these the other day too, and things just start popping out. It's crazy. So the Maynard thing was crazy because I was always a big fan. Actually, hang on. Entertain somebody. I'm gonna get something.
Nice.
I'm gonna show you what.
Make sure whoever's watching this, make sure you type in some comments about Carl's pink shirt. I'm sure he'll love to see that. Make sure you compliment his shirt as much as you can. I've never seen him looking so good.
You like my shirt?
What?
All right.
What are you talking about? Oh, you just laid a comment on me about my shirt the other day. So I just, whatever.
So my pop passed away in 2017. In the 50s, this is how I got on Maynard's band. In the 50s, the Birdland Dream Band.
Thanks, Phil.
Being put together, correct?
Right.
And
right.
My dad with Nicky Travis and Lynn, all the New York guys. Nicky Travis was an NBC studio guy. Jerry Greco was another guy. My dad and my uncle decided they were going to audition for the Birdland Dream Band before it was the Birdland Dream Band.
Nice.
Carol Studio rehearsed. My dad heard Lynn was on that band. It was Nicky Travis was on that band. He knew Nick. He heard Nicky paste double A and have a great audition. My dad's like, screw this, I'm out of here. He left. My uncle played piano with Harry James. Yeah, and they both bolted. So my dad was playing in the city a lot, and he would go after his gig to the Birdland to see Maynard. Became very friendly with Maynard. I go through when I was like 8 or 9, I run across this picture. Can everybody see that?
It's a little shiny from there.
Right here.
Okay, that's good. Awesome.
So basically, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is it has a lot of history. So
all right on.
And there's my dad. In the middle is a cutout. You see the cutout in the middle? It's a picture. That's at Birdland, all right? The middle of it.
Okay.
Cut out. So I'm like a little kid, Meanwhile, my mom's name is Carol. There's a tattoo on my dad's arm says Doris. I thought Doris was my mom's middle name. I didn't know. I find this picture. I bring it to a Maynard concert with my dad. My dad, like, is just rolling his eyes. I show it to the road manager. The road manager brings it to Maynard. Maynard's like, that's Charlie. He remembers my dad. The
Nice.
middle of that picture that was cut out was Doris, his first wife. So I would know Maynard and his manager, Ed Sargent, who actually brought me in, who was Maynard's manager, as, hey, it's Charlie Fisher's kid, you know, the guy that cut with the cutout picture. There was just a funny story. And throughout the years, man, I followed the band, you know, became friendly with everybody in the band. And Maynard remembered my dad from hanging out. And my dad told him the story. I auditioned for you in the 50s. So anyway, fast forward. I mean, they didn't know each other well, my dad and Maynard, but they were, you know, they'd have a pop here and there, and he'd hang out with them. They were cool. Okay, so fast forward, I'm born, blah, blah, blah. This whole thing happens. I go hanging out. I'm living in New York. I was fortunate enough to do my first jazz tour as a stage manager. I got with Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra with Wynton Marsalis. It was the first tour they were on.
Wow.
In the end of '92. I did that, and Wynton heard me play. We went out for 3 days first. He heard me play, and he sat down and gave me a lesson. Was just very, what a genuine, humble guy he was. Helped me out tremendously and asked me to play in the band. So I played fifth trumpet when they called for it. Fifth trumpet. Lusolf was playing lead trumpet. Lusolf was the lead player in 1992. Check.
Nice.
Lusolf
Right.
and Wynton Marsalis. How can you? I mean, it was crazy. Joe Wilder, the late great Joe Wilder. The late great Marcus Belgrave. And these guys,
Right.
I mean, the section was ridiculous. It was, you know, and that was a great band, and half of the band was out of Duke Ellington and Count Basie. Jerry Dodgen was playing lead alto saxophone. Great memory. So the tour ends. I have a great relationship with Wynton. It's getting ready to start again, and being the stage, I didn't know what stage manager was. I learned really quickly. But my whole thing, I talked about this at clinics. My whole thing was get in and hear as many people as you can, and no gig is beneath you. That was my mindset. Whatever I can do to be around players, that was my mindset. So there was some particulars. The Lincoln Center didn't happen for me. I was supposed to go back out with Lincoln Center. Wynton ended up hiring somebody else because he was a music copyist. And he didn't play trumpet on that. But I wanted more money. I remember I asked for more money because I was doing both gigs. And Wynton was writing his first extended piece. I can't remember what it was. It was one of his ballets. And he was, even when I was out with him, man, we'd be up all night. He'd play piano. We'd check things out. You know, he would write some stuff down. He was always writing, composing music. So it was a very, very great learning experience for me. So the tour didn't happen for me, and I was crushed. It was like, you know, Wynton and I were boys. It was nothing personal. You know, it was actually Lincoln Center it happened. It was probably the best blessing in disguise because I get a call from Ed Sargent, who was Maynard's manager, about 6 months later saying, hey, we know, you know, you just did the Lincoln Center thing. Mind you, prior to that, I got called a couple bands I worked with locally here in Florida and in New York. I got called to open Maynard concerts. So they knew I could play a little bit, you know, and you know, I just did this Lincoln Center thing. So Ed said, hey, the gig might be beneath you, but we need a valet, which means personal assistant. And obviously, you know, once you get your the valet gig, you know, there's been trumpet players that have done this. You'll come play trumpet. You know, Maynard knows you're a trumpet player. He knows you. He likes you. You know, he feels comfortable with you. Would you be into doing it? I'm like, the next day, I said, send me the ticket, you know. So that's how
Right. Of course.
and it was probably the best experience doing that gig. It was a lot of people, a lot of trumpet players, especially, were like, oh, that gig's beneath me. I ain't helping Maynard out. I ain't doing this. I'm, you know, like, you know, even some of the guys throughout the years, alumni or guys that would make one tour would look at me like, man, why you know, kowtowing to Maynard? Why you know, and he was my man. He was, you know, and I learned more from him indirectly than directly on a bandstand. And a lot of the guys coming out of college and jazz schools were like, oh, well, I got my diploma, and dude, you know, so on and off for 12 years, you know, with Maynard. So it was great.
Nice.
All right, I'll shut up.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, no, that's great, man. Like, like I said, so many of us are huge Maynard fans, and we're all dreaming about playing with the man someday. Oh, get a little.
I'm listening. I'm listening. Yeah, no.
What, it was Spider-Man. What's going on here?
So fast forward to this.
Nice.
There's Maynard in the corner.
Oh, awesome.
On the end of this picture,
Yeah.
cut off. Maynard's in the middle. Right here was my first fiance. They cut out. Maynard got framed. So this was so this, Maynard got this made for me, and this is where with my fiance Kellen. Back in the day, her name was Kellen. She was here and got cut out, and he remembered the whole thing, so it all came full circle. So.
What a great sense of humor that was. Now, I remember years ago as well. You were playing with Diana Ross, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Billy Joel. How did you juggle those three incredible? You were playing on all of those at the same time, right?
Yeah, it was. That year I was gone over 200 days a year. It was a great year.
I guess.
First and foremost, the Billy is very.
Uh-oh.
You there? Did I lose you?
Yeah, we're back. We're back.
Yeah, I had a call come through, so I apologize. It was my stockbroker telling me to sell everything.
That's right. Don't kill yourself. Yeah, I know.
It was my doc. 2 days to live. Whatever. I can't go left. So, yeah, the Billy thing, so I knew Billy takes care of his own. The Blood, Sweat, and Tears thing, I had a weird relationship. It's a great band. I did one day in the 90s, the mid-90s, and David Clayton Thomas fired the whole band. And then, like, 10 years later, Cole on it, just the Blood, Sweat, and Tears stories with alumni is hysterical because Dave Clayton Thomas would fire the band. He'd lose his mind and hire half of it back and whatever. So yeah, with BS&T, and I love BS&T, and man, I had a blast with Diana Ross. I had three of my really good friends from Long Island, John Scarpula, Ozzy Melendez, and Chris Carlick, with a horn section. I was play with those guys all the time, and that was section for Diana Ross. So I knew where my heart lied with Billy. We just didn't have a lot of work with Billy at the time.
Right.
Fortunate enough, Ms. Ross, nothing coincided until I had a Billy gig take precedence over a Diana gig. And so they told Ms. Ross about me not making these gigs. And I remember we're at dinner. The whole band was at dinner with Ms. Ross. I don't remember why. We were all together. And she stopped the whole conversation in front of everybody. I said, "So, Carl, I'm not good enough for you to come out to tour next." And I was like, "No, actually, just the opposite." I said, "Your family, everything's family." I said, "But I've been with this family longer. That's about loyalty." And she changed it. She made it was so sweet. She's like, "You know what? I'm glad you said that because I'm glad you feel that way. Go ahead and do it." And she let me sub quite a bit. At the end, she kind of got a little bit mad because now I started subbing quite a lot.
Really saving face with Diana Ross, and that's good advice for any player who has to sub anything out. Carl, let's get on. We've talked about a lot of things up to this point. How's about the current projects? I know you've got a lot of current things on the go that are really cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I've been fortunate, like we were saying earlier, having this quarantine, being home quite a bit. I always, back a year ago, actually 2 years ago, I got a kind of a cluster in my crazy mind of putting together a band, and we call it TED-I, which is tribute to evolutionary trumpet icons, starting from Louis Armstrong and going all the way up to current day. Their styles and playing their music with my own spin on things. And we started like a multimedia presentation that are actually set in those arrangements. So we were lucky. We played ITG last year in Miami. That was our debut performance of the band. And we've done a few things. We did a record in August, and we still have to edit and mix that. But I put together a nice group of musicians down here. There's a great core of musicians down here in Florida. So that project is I've been working on. I just haven't been too diligent because things have been good, man. Things have been busy. When quarantine happened, I couldn't get to the studio. I wanted to get work on this TED project. But back in 2013, I had this other cluster of an idea of like a brass New Orleans second line band. This town I live here in St. Pete, in Florida, is St. Pete, and it's got a lot of old world charm and kind of has a downtown, reminds me a little bit of New Orleans.
Right.
It doesn't have the culture and music, but I was like, man, maybe we'll put together a brass band and play downtown. That never happened because I was torn so much. So, I'm like, let's try this virtual thing. I woke up one morning and heard Down by the Riverside, which is an old traditional, hymn. And man, I recorded it within a day and then called my drummer who's playing the Tedai, great Louis Alisea. He played drums, another percussionist here in town who's unbelievable, the great Gooby Ortiz played percussion. And then, I'm never one to sing, I'm not a, I love instrumental music, bro, but it's just like, man, I'd love to have some vocals on this. So I'm very fortunate to have my buddy do a virtual session, Michael Judas, with Billy Joel. He's in front of me. He plays guitar and sings with Billy. So very fortunate. And so we've been working on that, and we did that. And Billy was fortunate. I was very fortunate. Billy shared it to his fan base, so we had over 4 million eyes on it yesterday.
Nice. I've seen it. It's fantastic.
Thanks, man. It's not, it's not for sale. It's nothing for sale. It's just, it made me, Stephen helped me. Stephen Wright is my manager and right-hand man. He helped me with the whole virtual aspect of it and putting together the video. He's great with that, and the audio. He mixed it. He mixed it for me. He engineered it for me. And we did it just because it made us feel better. I mean, all of us, we made not a penny on it, nor do I want to. To the fact is, I'm doing another one as we speak. So
nice. Well, you guys did a great.
Forward, man.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You guys did a great job. Maybe Stephen, I think he's on here. Stephen, if you could post a link to that, that would be fantastic. I noticed you're playing Superbone on there as well. Also, what is it? A marching trombone or marching baritone you've got going on there.
Yeah. In fact, what's funny is Bobby Shoe's marching trombone I bought when he sold some horns. A friend of mine bought it. A Florida friend of mine, Bill Caro, bought it, and then he wasn't playing it. He goes, I got this marching trombone. I thought I didn't even know it was a marching trombone. What the hell's a marching trombone?
Right.
It looks like a bass trumpet. But I'm like, this would be great for Tedai, my Tedai project, because a couple gigs I flew and I didn't want to travel with a trombone. So it meant I could put this marching trombone in a suitcase with my tenor sax, so to play a little tenor sax with Tedai also. And so it travels easier. So I got that. So with this thing, I'm playing marching trombone, and I'm playing the 22D mouthpiece. I have Maynard Ferguson gave me his Superbone when I was in his band. So between those two horns, and then I also have some other Maynard horns. But the whole low brass was Bobby Shoe and Maynard's horns. Is great.
That's been, now, how do you find switching between the trombone mouthpiece and your trumpet mouthpiece? I know for me, it messes me up when I go back to trumpet.
Okay, that's a great question. I was going to talk to you. I think Bruno, you were on a call with Bruno from our man Bruno from Brazil. You guys, I think Bruno's here joining in. Yeah. And I wanted to chime in. So that's a great question, and you were saying that last week. So we all have those issues where just going between the cups. You feel like you can't find center again, right? And everything's
right. It's just it's all tingly and almost feels like I'm putting it on a piece of dead meat when I go back to trumpet.
Exactly. I asked this exact same question when I first told Maynard Ferguson I played valve bone. I was playing a lot of valve bone. When I first told Maynard I was playing valve bone, I said, "How do you get past that?" And he goes, "This is how you get." This is right out of me. He goes, "This is how you get out of that." He goes, "It's in your head. Get over your head." He goes, "Of course, the mouthpiece, he goes, of course you're going to feel like everything's like you have a dead arm, yeah, it's going to feel strange." He says, "How long have you been playing trumpet?" I said, "No, at that time, I guess it was 25 years, 30 years. He goes, "You don't think you know where your center is by now?" He goes, "Get past your head. You're always going to find your trumpet. Who cares what it feels like? Play past it. It's in your head. Don't even think about it." And you know what? That translated from me playing trombone. I don't care if I play trombone or trumpet. Yeah, it's different. You get past it. Throw a tenor mouthpiece in your mouth. Feels
Right.
totally different. Soprano mouthpiece in your mouth. Totally different. Oh, okay, I got to play a double C now on trumpet. It's in your head. Get past it. It's just the same guy at Maynard went to the dentist and didn't have a shot of Novocaine and was having a root canal and a teeth put in with no Novocaine because he had to play that night. He wasn't yelling and screaming. He got through it.
No. Wow, that's some great advice. I'm gonna have to try that. I had my trombone in the closet for quite a while now because of switching back. I'm gonna have to try that. And if I can look as cool as Carl Fischer playing a trumpet, how cool can you look playing a tenor saxophone? Now, you play like five horns with Billy. You're playing your soprano sax, your tenor sax, which is spectacular. When all three of you are doing what is it, moving out? When three saxophones sounds fantastic. And man, you got the tenor sax looked down to a science, dude.
Yeah, just trying to get the girls.
Well, there you go.
I ended up getting my wife. I got the girls, got my wife, and I still play tenor. And it's funny because occasionally I'll walk past the mirror, like going to the stage or something, and if I have a sax in my hand, I'm like, that's not me. It still freaks me out. When I see video, I'm like, sometimes even in the middle of the gig, in the Billy gig, I have to switch a lot. Sometimes I'll forget. A lot of it's muscle memory. Same
Right.
thing with your chops and trombone. But like even muscle memory of turning around and grabbing a horn. Okay, this tone. And one night I remember grabbing one horn and it was the wrong horn. I put it. I tried. It was like a tenor thing, and I picked up trombone. I'm like, it's still surprising, man. But it's all muscle memory.
Yeah.
You do it long enough,
That's great.
Yeah.
So I know you have a project with Terry Warburton. You've got the CF horn. Tell us a little bit about your horn and your concept on the horn. I know it's got a rather unique bell. Tell us how you came about that design and your thoughts on the whole bell design.
Cool.
Just lay it on us. Tell us about the horn.
Yeah. So I always had consistency with my mouthpieces. From '96 on, I knew what I liked. I knew, playing GR stuff. I knew that was my home. I'm not a mouthpiece freak. Once I found what I liked, so I would experiment. I was very fortunate. I was with Con prior to that. After leaving Con and before Con, I have one of Maynard's 61 Con constellations. And my concept, I got Maynard's horn and I played it, I think this live from the King Cat Theater, which is Diana Shore and Maynard Ferguson. I'm soloing on that. I remember that was one of my, that horn was like maybe 3 weeks out of silver plating. I just had the horn redone. It was a nickel plated constellation I found in Maynard's closet that was wrecked. I mean, the horn was just, sent it out to Anderson, had it silver plated, and that was the thing a lot of guys were doing, taking the nickel off and just making them more conventional because the nickel plate really makes it a little darker. The silver opens the horn up. So
Okay.
I remember concepts and having a medium bore 438 with a big bell. The horn never felt small. That was always my base. Talking, I was very fortunate. I got to go to LeBlanc
Carl,
quite a bit because Maynard was messing around with
Yeah, your connection's gone for a little poop again. Oh, here we are. And see how it goes. Anyways, we are into something very interesting there about your concepts with your Warburton CF trumpet. And you just had Maynard's old Com 36B, 36B or 38B?
38B, the large
38B.
large bell, 36.
With a big bell. You just had that redone, and that's where we kind of got cut off.
Cool. Yeah, I had it redone and was playing it. My dad incidentally had a 59 Constellation that I played actually with Wynton with Lincoln Center. So I loved those horns. They were home for me. And again, this is all prior to me even having a GR mouthpiece. But
Right.
I knew style of horn always felt good, and the sound of those horns were not your typical Bach 37 or 43 bell horns. It's to the point it was actually really hard to blend in the trumpet section. Can you hear me?
Right. Yeah, we're good.
to the point I remember being freelance in a lot of big bands in New York at that time. I was playing my 59 Constellation, and a lot of lead players. I remember I had a nice watch. I'll never forget this. And for me it was nice. It was like an $80 Casio watch, but it looked like really good. The lead player was like, dude, I can't blend with you. I was playing second because I can't blend with you with this freaking horn. He goes, why don't you take that watch to the pawn shop and go buy yourself a Bach trumpet? So I was like, and I played in that band every week, man. And I was like, wow. And so really a lot of those sections back in the 90s for me were like, hey, man, you have to have a timbre we can blend with. And the Constellation Nickel Bell at that time was not it, man. I lost a lot of gigs as a section player. So, man, I went with Yamaha, I went with Bach, whatever guys were playing, I went to start playing because I couldn't lose the work, bro. So, fast forward it throughout the years. I remember Dave Monette coming out and joining the tour bus with Maynard. Maynard was, I was talking about Halton LeBlanc. I got privy to a couple nice visits to Halton LeBlanc with Larry Ramirez, who's Maynard's horn designer. And, Maynard would talk about what he liked in the Constellation and the Martin Committee large bores. I learned a lot indirectly through them, and directly. And then Dave Monette would, was very inquisitive with Maynard, obviously, because he was making Monette's MF trumpet. And Dave, man, some of the best recordings I think that Maynard ever had were that medium bore Constellation. And this, I could go on and on about horns, and there's a story that not many people know I could tell down the road, but there's so many great stories I learned about horn design throughout them. So I had a 10-year stint with Yamaha, which was a great company. I left on really good terms, a great bunch of people. I was playing a custom Yamaha, which you played, which is great. I had an Eric Miyashiro bell.
By far, Carl, that horn that you had here at my place was the best Yamaha I've ever played.
Thank you, bro. There was 4 of them made. I had 2 of them, and Rashawn Ross had 2 of them.
Gary's got one that.
Yep.
Gary's got that horn that's been fixed up. Yep. Anyway.
That was a great horn. And so yeah, that was a kind of a science project that the great Wayne Tanabe with Yamaha, who's a great brass technician over there, and I messed with. So we took the Eric Miyashiro bell, we took the Bobby Shoe medium bore Z body. Bob Malone at that time had a nice round radius tuning slide we put on it. There was a difference in the Venturi. I mean, I could go on and on. I learned a lot.
Right.
I had 2, and everybody that played them loved them. Yamaha really didn't want to put them out, and I was doing a lot of concerts and clinics with Yamaha at that point, and I just decided, you know what, I have so many great trumpets here, and I was doing a lot of clinics and spinning my wheels, so to speak. I'm like, you know what, I'm done. So I left Yamaha. I wasn't looking for a horn. I have, I'm going to switch here. I have quite a bit of trumpet.
Nice. It's time to go shopping at Carl's place.
Yeah. This is my studio setup now. These are out right now as my Dash 59.
Oh, beautiful.
Collection. Here's my Warburton, but I wasn't looking for any horns. I got plenty of horns. Yeah, my boys. Here's old Martin. Anyway, so long story short, Terry was. I went to a trade show, and there was Terry and Kim and Jerry from Warburton. And we sat down, and I played this horn, and it reminded me of playing Fred Powell's Con. I played the horn. It was horrible. I'm like, it's a piece of shit. It's horrible. Excuse my language. And they all looked at me like I was nuts. I'm like, it's horrible. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. Gives me another model. I'm like, okay, this is working. This is working. This ain't working. This, I played 2 or 3 horns, and some were okay, and but he was open to the idea. It's like, Terry's mantra is, I'm going to make it better. So I went to the factory, and we spent the day and got something that played pretty good, man. Again, concept and what I wanted, 61 Constellation. I want a medium bore. He had a medium bore valve section. I want a large bell. Why do I want a large bell? I want a large bell. I want a large bell flare, and I want a large diameter bell because I want to be able to hear myself in loud situations. The more vibration, the more feedback I get in my face so I can hear myself. I don't want to work hard, although I am a bull in a china shop. Everything, just like the GR thing, everything mathematically has to work. It can't work against each other. You know, like
Right.
I laugh at even Maynard when I first joined the band. He was playing a 19th throat. Check that out. You're playing a 19th throat. He was played up. One mouthpiece had a 14th throat in it with a
Right.
large bore 470 MF horn, and he was bleeding. His chops were bleeding. Those math things don't work. Again, you know, the Gary mouthpiece was all working for me. The measurements, everything was working, so I knew where my home was. And so, you know, we spent about 6 months with Terry Warburton and myself going and pushing and pulling, and I knew the ingredients I needed to get my Constellation feel. What I loved about the Warburton is point-to-point bracing, just like the Con. I want the horn to vibrate. You know, I want to actually feel the horn vibrate. Not that I want a lightweight horn, but I want to feel the vibration when I get on it.
Right.
So yeah, it was a great experience, and I could put that CF horn against every horn in my collection, and I have 2 of them, and those are the horns I play. Now,
Nice.
again, I have a big collection. The other day I was on Instagram. I was showing off my Constellation from 1961, the Maynard horn. But, man, all I record and play with is that CF horn. It's got the sound. So it's been a great kinship, you know.
Perfect. And we've been talking about the CF line of mouthpieces. Now you've got a number of mouthpieces in your series. Can you tell us a little bit about each one of those and what you'd use them for, and maybe even blow a little bit for us?
Now you're getting personal. Actually,
Well, I am locked up, dude.
yeah, there's actually there's one missing, but we'll start here. This is where it all started. There it is. This is where all it started. This is the CF Jazz. And, you know, the name has changed. Originally, it was the first signature back 24, 25 years ago. Notice how the rim on this is the flat rim, right? Brian,
Right.
we'll say it's probably the flattest rim of all.
It's very flat rim with a soft bite on it. Soft bite going into the cup. Yeah.
Soft going into the cup. So that being said, it's very soft. My deal is, you know, and I learned it from Scott Holbert, you do not want to play anything with a purchase and a bite on it. Me personally, because what happens is I end up hurting myself, cut myself. And since we're going through the whole history of things, hello, did I lose you?
No, we're here. We're here. All good.
Right, cool. So this is the Jazz mouthpiece I'm showing, but this is just to give everybody a little, you know, again, I'm very plain thinking, and I'm sure everybody has a thing of mouthpieces. All right, these are all my dad's Mount Vernon. So start with, I mean, this whole row is worth a lot. 1.25 C, 3 C, 7 C, all Mount Vernons. Then I get into Giardinelli's, which are copies of the original Mount Vernon mouthpieces. These are all my dad's mouthpieces. Hey,
No.
look at this. Well, actually, MF Jet Tone, that was given to me by MF. MF2 Monette, that was given to me by Maynard. This was Maynard's Jet Tone trombone mouthpiece. This is like I said, that's the Monette that Maynard made. That was Maynard's. This was the original beginning Scott Holbert mouthpiece. Look at that rim. Flat.
Right.
That's where I got it from. Okay. He made me a heavyweight one. Same rim, same mouthpiece. This was my Flugel mouthpiece, blah, blah, blah. I was talking about the Black and Hill. Here's the Black and Hill, which is the closest copy. There's the flat rim. Then I was on the road with Maynard. Monette decided he was going to try to make me a CF copy of that Scott Holbert mouthpiece. Didn't really work for me. Sorry, Dave. You're a nice cat. I love you, but didn't work. Here is the first original Jazz mouthpiece, GR Technologies. These are all prototype GRs on the bottom. Compressor, my horns, my mouthpieces. But we jump on this flat rim, no bite. You know, again, out of Scott Holbert. This is the mouthpiece that Gary Racky made for me that changed it all for me. It was better than any mouthpiece I played. I'm trying to get together here. And also came the mantra for me was I like the sizing of a 3C width, of a box 3C width. I knew that. So a 3 and a 7 would be a 64 to 66M in the GR technology world, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, we massage this thing, and again, Gary made this flat rim off the Hobart and improved on it. So this was my all-around mouthpiece for probably 10 years. Okay, so am I breaking up there yet or no?
No.
Is it breaking
Sounds
up?
good. Sounds good.
Okay, well, I can be very fluffy and light, so to speak, with this mouthpiece. However, I can do the same thing. I can go the opposite way and be very directional, fat and full. I can get all the qualities I want out of the jazz mouthpiece.
So that's the CF Jazz. That's pretty well your all-rounder, that one right there.
That's my all-arounder. That was my all-arounder for years.
Mm-hmm.
And still, up until about 2 years ago, believe it or not.
Okay.
But this is the deepest cup, the closest to a 3 or 7C feel, but just being able to switch it. You can go up an octave. It's comfortable. It's very uninjuring. What's the word I'm looking for, Brian? Very hard to injure yourself with a flat rim and no,
sure.
no, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And let me talk about this for a while too. Being here over 20 years, I've seen a lot of players come to my line, not because of Carl Fischer. Forget Carl Fischer. I'm another moron with a trumpet, right? Who cares? I get a call. I've gotten kids. I've seen kids really benefit, you know, from this cup because they're playing with a lot of pressure
Sure.
to pulling in or pushing. But I get a call in Japan. I'm going to say this story because this meant a lot to me. From Wayne Bergeron, a good friend of mine, and Wayne's in Europe with the in Japan with Gordon Goodwin's band. Willie Murillo had one of my mouthpieces, the CF Jazz, and you know, Wayne got on a call and he's like, "Dude, I'm having some issues. I'm playing your mouthpiece. What's the deal? It feels really strange, but oddly enough, I can play on it." So I tell him, look, you know, it's the flat rim. Call Gary. He ended up playing this mouthpiece, and he said it in his clinics. He's called me many times. He's a great friend. This mouthpiece saved my career. And,
Yeah.
You know, the rim, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, how did it come about to you guys?
Basically the same thing. I was talking to Wayne at an ITG a couple of years ago, and he said he was with Gordon's band, and you know the music, of course, that Wayne has to play is very, very demanding. He was playing a shoe 1, which was right up against the pipe, so there was no gap. He was killing himself, and he's only human, so his chops broke down. I guess Willie handed him your model, and and Wayne said he immediately. So he was the one that bought it. So Wayne said he immediately plugged it in and played the loudest double D he's ever played, and then he went like, "What?" And that's pretty well exactly like what you said. That's how that started.
Yeah, I mean, it was great because I did a record with Maynard with Wayne, and he got with Superman, and it still is Superman. He can play anything and sound great on anything. But here he is telling me, he goes, "Man, I'm really having chop problems. Your mouthpiece help." It wasn't a surprise, you know. Like I said, I've seen kids, you know, fighting things, you know. So again, it's a very, if anybody's going to injure themselves, it's going to be me. I play hard. Yeah, you know, I'm not I'm a bull in the china shop. So, you know, I know Wayne's mouthpiece. I know he's changed things, but I know he's still got a very forgiving room like me. And I know Louis too. Louis Drosdell playing the GR.
Lewis Dodwell T1.0. They're very similar rim concepts. There are some slight differences to match those particular players, but this is a very, very, very similar contour and concept with some slight changes here and there.
Yep, and that's why I went to my mouthpiece. Everybody has, you know, you have to kind of go almost by trial and error. You know what I mean? But I knew with me, the trial was, hey, this what works for me and that might not work for you. In case
Right.
of Wayne, certain things work for him, but so GR actually takes the math and makes these things tangible immediately. It's not guesswork. That's what I'm trying to get at here. This is
Absolutely.
not work. And same thing with Louis. Louis was playing Wayne's Mouthpiece, which is based off my rim, but Louis might have said, well, okay, well, I'm having problems shutting down. Maybe I'm pinching or I have impingement. 3 rules of GR brass playing. Check that out. Impingement,
That's right.
uninterrupted airflow. All these things are and this is not me. I'm not a scientific guy, but throughout the years, I've seen these things work, man. I've been in the inside layer. GR and Brian have educated me directly and indirectly on seeing these things. So,
Absolutely. So that was the CF Jazz you just demonstrated for us.
The biggest
So
mouthpiece.
yeah, so let's say you need to rip a few heads off. Which model are you going to pull out of your holster?
The next, well, I'll go down the line. The next, they're all equal rippable, just different. So the Jazz has the biggest backbore, which is the 3 for me on my line. So then we mess around with back in the day. I got to put my glasses on and see which model is this. I'm so blind now, man. Oh, there you are.
Wow.
Oh. All right, so this is the Rockstar. This is a derivative of the Jazz mouthpiece. And the Rockstar came about just joking around with Gary. He put a star on it, and he goes, you're playing with blood, sweat, and tears, and Billy Joel, you must be a rock star. Yeah, that's the name. All right, so it still has a 3 backbore, very big open backbore. What was bothering me, well, the Rockstar, I'm going out of succession in time, but I think you correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. I'm going to go from the biggest mouthpiece to the smallest mouthpiece. Is that a good way, or should I go?
Sure. That's fine. That's fine.
Because the list is totally different,
Right. And I know Stephen Wright is on here as well, and he's also throwing in some comments. He loves the fact that the combination of the rim and alpha angle makes the piece feel a little bigger than what it measures, but it still gives you support. So Stephen, feel free to type in some comments here as Carl's discussing his mouthpieces. That'll certainly help. Anyway, go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go from smallest to largest because that's that's what people really want to know about. Forget about the timeline. So the next one in the series is this Rockstar. And I was playing, at this point, I was years prior, I wanted something that was a lot more forgiving, a little shallower, a little more zip, more efficient, but still with a big sound. And so this is a little bit smaller cup, still has a very high alpha angle. The beta angle on the bottom of the cup's a little bit tighter. But again, concept is same rim, same feel. We're not messing with anything here. So again, especially playing stadiums with Billy, having a Jazz mouthpiece, I just felt like I was going left to right, which I love that left to right big sound.
Right.
But a lot when you're playing for 75,000 people and you're hearing bounce off things, and you have a low and rumble, and you have a whole bunch of treble on the stage, and you have in-ears, man, it just sonically, I needed to be a little bit more compact. I still wanted the left and right, but I just need a little bit more compact. So enough about talking. So I'm going to give you 2 different sounds. That's the Jazz mouthpiece, right? Go to the Rockstar. So it still has a big sound, but the core is more together. Can you hear that through that or no?
Certainly can, and I can also hear that you have the ability on both of those mouthpieces to color the sound as you wish.
Color is a good word for it.
Right. If you want to lay back and make it fluffy, you can do that. But if you want to put the jets to it, you've been doing that as well on the same mouthpiece.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So that was the Rockstar, and so moving down the line, what the next progression would be, I'll leave the JR to the end. Would be the Fish Lips. Fish Lips came about. I was playing when I was with Diana Ross. I wanted something a lot of Jerry Hay, Tower Power-ish funk horn lines, very tight, short articulation. And I didn't have to have a monster sound because I was playing with 3 other monsters in the section. But not that it was a small sound, but it was just a lot. I needed a lot more focus with this. So Gary made me the Z mouthpiece originally. And again, here's your Z, and it's a very flat rim, same rim feel again. And this is my smallest mouthpiece. Okay, this is my smallest mouthpiece of the series. Now it's a very small cup, again, high alpha angle, so it's not messing with your chops. It's just changing the compression. And I would say the beta angle on the cup is a lot more, it's higher on the drum. So again,
you have to do your homework. Yep.
Between the Jazz Rockstar and the Z, there's another model which I gave away, one of my students. That's called the fish lips.
Right.
So next progression, that would be between the size of the cup of the fish. I mean, the fish lips would be in between the what the hell is this mouthpiece here? The Rockstar and the Z. So that's just again, who cares about cup? Here's the difference in the sound. Again, with the same feel. So it's got a real bite to it. I'm going to do the same thing with my deepest cup, just to show everybody I'm not crazy. So it's hard to hear on an iPhone microphone, but man, it's so all these mouthpieces blend to a certain style of music I was playing.
Right. Not only that, Carl, but depending on how much lip the player engages into the cup, they may not be able to play the Z, but they might be able to play the fish lips and still have similar results.
Correct.
Like
and that's
better results depending on how much lip. Yeah. So you've got a new model now. You've also got, I believe, you guys just got delivery of them a short while ago. The JRW.
JRW. I'm gonna say absolutely. So and just a little side note too. When I was playing that Z for years with Diana Ross on and off for 3 years, it was a continuous set where the horn was on your chops quite a bit. After the 4th or 5th day of consecutive gigs, I'd be swollen like everybody else. Your chops swell. So that's how the fish came about. I needed a little bit more room, and so the fish lips just had a little more room when I was swollen. That's all that was. So JRW comes apart when after 10 years playing a Yamaha and going through Wisconsin, saying, hey, a different horn, I'd like for you to check it out. Again, it's the mathematical stuff. I mean, so the JRW was Jazz Rock, short for Jazz Rock, and my nickname for Gary has always been the Wizard. So the Wizard, and coincidentally is not a word.
It is now. We're all locked up. That's a new word. You just invented a new word.
So
thank you, doctor.
Yeah. Vaccination. JRW, Jazz Rock, Wizard, incidentally, as playing it on a Warbird for W. So what this was about was it just has a little more. It still has a 3 backbore. It's very close to the Jazz Rock, but it has a little tighter beta angle. Would that sound right to you, Brian?
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
And I have a gentleman. I got to call him out. I'm going to play a little bit too. I'm going to talk about him. Pedro's a great trumpet player in the Marines. He's a friend of mine, and he's playing some of my mouthpieces. I have a lot of guys playing his mouthpieces, and the question comes up always: what will give me more room? What will do this? What will do that? This company, PR technology, is not conventional. You really have to, and this is the thing I have to say before I start playing this. You really have to know. Well, you can either be stupid like me for 10 years and just let Brian and Gary do what they do, or educate yourself and go on a GR website and educate yourself what an alpha angle is.
Absolutely.
What the angle is, what the exponents of these mouthpieces. They all work together. So a guy's like, I need a deeper cup. Pedro, like for instance, last night, hey man, I need a deeper cup. I'm like, what makes you think you need a deeper cup? Could be the alpha angle,
Totally.
you know, and so we're going to talk about that. But so anyway, so the JR stuff now, JRW matches my medium bore horn much better than prior to what I was playing. And just because, I guess, I don't know if it's the other.
So just bear with us while Carl gets his internet thing sorted out. Okay, should just be a moment.
From the second chord. Bridge. So that's an interrupted fourth take Joy Spring solo. Sorry.
That's all right. We're back. We're back. We're talking to Carl Fischer here, and we're just his mouthpiece line with GR Mouthpieces signature CF series. And what was the last one we were on there, Carl? Oh, that's the JRW.
Yeah, it's a JRW. Yeah, yeah. You know,
Nice.
You know, I played two choruses and I opened my eyes and everybody was gone.
Yeah, we had to split, man. So, and it was so darn good too.
I sucked that bad. So where I'm trying to go with this is, you know, I could play jazz on it and you know, I can go any way with it, man. So
Nice.
this mouthpiece now is what I play all the time. It just feels great. And it, incidentally for me, it's got the 3 backbore, which is originally off the jazz backbore. And you know, it's, for me, it works. It's working for me right now. So,
Nice.
you know,
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you also have an FD in your line?
I do. FD. This is an FD2, and this has been great. So it's a trumpet shank made for trumpet, correct, Bry?
Con Vintage 1 flugels or trumpet?
Correct.
Yeah.
And this was really working out for me, again, with my band Ted-Eye. When I'm flying, we did an isolation date in Jersey, but we all flew up from Florida, and I didn't want to pay for overweight baggage and stuff because I'm cheap. So you don't need a flugel. Fits right in there nice. You know, just it's got a real nice sound, flugely sound. If you can't travel with a flugel, you don't have a flugel. FD cup, again, concept is look at that flat rim, baby. Can
Right.
you see that? Flat
And you
rim.
also have that same rim concept on your flugelhorn mouthpieces.
Here's the original flugelhorn mouthpiece.
Nice.
I think it's got the picture. Yeah, this one's got the picture. Make it out, the engraving.
Hard to see.
Yeah, it's also black. But yeah, my flugel mouthpiece.
That'd be the DWB, the dirty with something. Right.
Yeah, it's just got a great sound, man.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Old Queen on. An old Queen on. Oh, with a. I'm totally geeking out, bro. Look
We
at
are
this.
geeking.
What
We're
is
totally
that?
geeking, yeah. That'd be the GR Queen on flugelhorn lead pipe.
What could that be? This changed the game, bro. This is the GR Queen on lead pipe, man. Woo!
There you are.
Even. made this Queen on a different flugelhorn, bro.
Absolutely.
Better. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions about Carl Fischer's line of mouthpieces, just go to Fish Music, Fisch music.com. Maybe Stephen will put the link up. You can contact Stephen Wright. He'll answer all of your questions if Carl's unavailable. It looks like he's, who knows, maybe locked up now. Might be able to answer some of your questions. If you want, we can do this again later on your Facebook page, Carl. But also to mention, I'm a big fan. You're also endorsing torpedo bags. I've got one of those. Fantastic. MC microphones as well.
Yeah.
Another fine product. Carl, unless you have anything to add, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you. It's been way too long since you and I spoke.
I know.
And it's been, yeah, way too long, man. And I've really enjoyed this. Unless you have anything else you want to discuss, or I don't see any questions popping up here.
Yeah, if there's no questions, there's no, that's fine. It's been way too long. I would just like to say for the record, a couple of talks that I had with some trumpet players just recently, believe in the math with GR Technologies. It's not conventional. You don't need to be into algebra. The best thing you could do, a lot of people don't need custom mouthpieces. A lot of things you could do, the 66, 64, your popular models, but educate yourself with what, the exponents are, because Brian and Gary can plug you in so easily if you know what you're going for and what you're playing. Having that relationship with your trumpet and your equipment, between your trumpet, your gap, your mouthpiece, and what your chops are doing, and don't go by the old conventional wisdom of, darker sound equals I got to have a deeper cup, or I got to have more bite for this, and
Well, Carl, just to explain what you're just saying right now, you just played 4 or 5 of your different model mouthpieces, yet you sounded like you on each and every one of them. Right. You were able to color the sound you wanted to. Now, you could change the color of your sound on each mouthpiece, but you still, 3 or 4 notes, if I listened to a recording, I'd be able to tell you that's Carl Fischer. It doesn't matter what mouthpiece you're playing.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you want to get past the equipment. So I'm not trying to be equipment freaks, but a lot of the conventional trumpet mouthpiece, your box, there's a million of them out there, and they're all great. What works for you is what works for you.
Yeah.
But what I have to stress with the GR stuff is there's no guessing. There's no trial by error here, man. It's very, it's very specific. Exponents all add up to the greater sum of this mouthpiece. And so, do not think by sitting there, I need a 28 hole and this. Well, you might need a 28 hole if your alpha angle is low. Look at
That's
me,
right.
I'm talking big.
I know, you've got it down too.
It's actually, I want to be a consultant. I feel like I've been consulting for my line for years, but also too other people that can't get a custom mouthpiece, or that just want to get something off the shelf, a 64, 66. I've been educating myself. So if anybody has questions about those things too, man, I can help out. Help out. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, and it's helped my life out tremendously. And if it wasn't for Brian and GR, man, I'd be in the street somewhere doing something bad.
Well, who knows? In these times, we might still have to do that.
That's the first for everything.
So if anyone has any questions real quick before we let Carl go, just type them up there like right now. Until one of those come up, I'm going to be interviewing trumpeter Sean Billings on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Sean's played with Brian Setzer. He's been seen on the TV show Dexter. He's been on Conan O'Brien Tonight Show with Jay Leno. His music's been heard on ads for Nike and Starbucks. Basically, if you have been in isolation, you've heard Sean Billings. You may not know the name, but you've heard the man. We'll talk about his studio experience and any other trumpet geeky questions that may pop up. So it looks like I don't really see any questions right now, Carl. Oh, just see. Oh, now I can figure out how I can scroll through this. Holy smokes! I know we had a few questions before, but
well, actually, I'm going to talk.
Sure.
What closest to MC, I just seen,
Ah,
I was 66M, correct? The width wise would be.
a 7C. Well, the problem there is Bach is very inconsistent.
No kidding.
So I would,
Okay.
if a player was playing a 7C, I would say 64M in the GR series or 65M, or
I'm sorry.
yeah. Um, those would be the closest. I would also want to know what horn you're playing, what problems you're having with that particular mouthpiece. Um, you know, maybe even one from the Carl Fischer line, depending on what your specific issues with the 7C would be.
I'm going to jump on that too. So yeah, I was wrong. The 64, actually, there's a nice diagram that you furnished for us that's on my website, fishmusic.com. And it compares the 64M, which is close to the 7C, with the drawings of my whole mouthpiece line, which is very
Hmm.
interesting. And this question comes across my desk all the time, and I'm dealing with my buddy Pedro with it now. I don't know if he's on here, but he'll see it. So one of the questions is, he goes, I think I need a deeper cup. I'm playing your jazz mouthpiece. I've had some gentlemen that are workhorses, great lead players, that could play my mouthpiece for maybe an hour or two, and they swell up, and they think they're bottoming out. And so, judging from reading on and knowing the GR Technologies mantras, I asked them if, is the sound, what are you playing on, your comfort level? Are you happy with your sound? And all those things are lining up perfectly. So the next thing, and maybe Brian, you can shed some light on this, what goes through my mind, we have a very high alpha angle, which is the feel of these mouthpieces. We don't make a deeper cup, but if we use a beta angle, we open up a beta angle, and this is where talking about these things, there's no guesswork. If you open up a beta angle, it's going to change the mouthpiece for, you're not guessing on this.
Right.
And
Depending on,
go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, depending on the different angles in there, it's going to give you a different blow resistance or feedback to the player. And you tighten up something at the bottom of the cup, it'll actually help keep some lip out of the cup, so you may be able to tolerate a slightly higher alpha angle. Now, to explain the alpha angle, I've done this on a couple of videos just recently. Basically, here's the outside of the mouthpiece, and it comes over the rim, right, into the cup. So you're into the bottom of the cup. So this is a higher alpha angle. That's a lower alpha angle. Now, a higher alpha angle will give you support. Lower alpha angle will give you room for the lips to vibrate. The whole trick is that, coupled with the other parameters, the size of the backbore, etc., the amount of blow resistance, you have to find the right alpha angle for you and the amount of lip you put in the cup in order for your lips to vibrate without being impinged, but still give you support to make it through a gig and to make your articulation snap. So yeah, we can vary the different parameters depending on how much lip the player puts in the cup. Now I know your friend Pedro is here. He's been typing on here, sending comments.
So what sent me last night was, he feels like he's bottoming out. He needs a deeper cup. So I'm just thinking if we can make him a jazz with a different beta angle, if it's something, or if there's a standard line. I know there's not a standard line mouthpiece with my rim, and he feels great with the rim. So we don't want to mess with that. But again, I'm bringing this on as an example of how affordable this company is, and how you're not going to have a box of mouthpieces, 20 mouthpieces to get that secret one. I mean, there's math here. So, okay.
Well, what we could do for Pedro as well, Pedro, I know you're listening right now. You could always send me an email. I know you like Carl's rim, so send me an email and we'll connect. Maybe I can get you a quick video and we'll see exactly what's going on. The only problem we have right now maybe there's something else in Carl's line, but the only problem we have right now with making them is that we're so darn busy, we don't really have time to make custom mouthpieces, unfortunately. Gary Radke's the only guy that actually makes the mouthpieces. We are not hiring more people because we've tried that and we can't keep the quality up. So quality is the most important thing. And we plan on just keeping it small and boutique. We get to the custom work when we can. But anyway, Pedro, that doesn't mean, don't contact me. I'll do a video, have a look at what you're playing. I'll send you some play tests. Anyone else that's interested, I can send you playing tests.
Yeah.
You can do a short video, upload it to YouTube. We'll check it out, see what's going on. That's grmouthpieces@gmail.com. And we can look at something, maybe something we've made for Carl in the past, maybe something that's in his line now with that same rim.
Yep.
So
Play tests
yeah,
make all the difference in the world. People, I've heard people say, "Oh, well, I can play a air attack on line G." I'm like, "All right, well, play it for me." And they go,
sure.
the
That's right.
attack happens 30 seconds
That's right.
beforehand, and you don't even know as a player. You might not even be. You might have been doing that for so many years. So these play tests that Brian is talking about and that GR started really bring out, the devil in the details, man. It's amazing. I've done
Absolutely.
the play test with a lot of students, and man, they're fighting everything. Their horn, their mouthpiece themselves. So
Right. Right. And I know and testing a mouthpiece is a thing too. When I was younger, I would go into the music store and choose a mouthpiece that I thought was going to work and try to play every Maynard Ferguson lick known to mankind.
exactly.
And oh, this is the mouthpiece that works. I would take it home because you can basically, I've got a few mouthpieces here as well.
Few things, couple, two tricks.
I can basically take any one of those mouthpieces and pound on it for 5 minutes and sound reasonable.
Yep.
However, at minute number 6, everything goes terrible. Or if I try to play something, right, you try to play something out of your Arbin's book or something, and it's not going to happen, right? So I see, Carl, we also have a player playing a 3M GR mouthpiece looking for something to use a little bit deeper. Yours are, they feel around, they measure smaller, around a 630, but they feel more like a 66, 65, 66, which is around a 3M. So what do you have for a player who plays the 3M, which is kind of like the medium? Maybe
The
are
jazz.
we looking at the jazz? Yeah, there you go. The Carl Fischer jazz.
Closest.
Uh-huh.
Jazz was, again, I came out of playing 3Cs and 7s for, I knew I liked that diameter. And that diameter, even though we're off by a couple 2-3 diameter sizes, the
Right.
feeling with the alpha angle makes it feel much larger, and the flat rim. So I
Absolutely.
have quite a bit of guys that play 3Cs that have went over to the jazz. I would say the jazz would be the first choice. Everything else would be smaller.
There you
They
go.
feel big, but the three is closest to the jazz.
Sure. And Brian Jordan, he's asking a similar question about a Bach 3C. He's playing on a Monet B4S S2. I guess that's Bach 3C-ish. Brian, if you can type on here, like, what problems are you having with that particular mouthpiece? If you're not having any problems, I'd say stick with the Monet. But if you're having some specific issues, let us know. Maybe Carl can chime in here and see what's in his line. That works for you.
Our pleasure, Pedro. Our pleasure of helping you out, man. Let us know what we can do for you. Did I lose you again?
No, we're still here. I'm just trying to figure out how to look at some of these questions. It's a couple of idiots, right?
I found a Bach Strat 72, and I'm recently on the 3MS. I am looking for something a little bit deeper than that, is one of the questions from C. Gaspar. You get that one?
Okay.
Did you hear that one, Brian? I'll let you field that.
I haven't seen it, but okay.
I'm playing a Bach Strat, and they're playing the 3MS, and they're looking for something a little deeper than the 3MS.
Sorry, I missed it. Looking for something a little what?
Deeper. Looking
A little
for something
deeper than
a little
the 3.
deeper than the 3MS.
Oh, okay. 3M would be the way to go. Are you having any articulation issues with that particular rim? 3M, 66M, Carl Fischer Jazz, perhaps?
Exactly.
Those are all good choices to have a look at. Okay, here's Brian chiming in here when he goes back to the 3Cs, a lot more flexible and the sound is a lot more lively. Okay, you love the Monet, but you're missing out on some of the liveliness and essence to the sound. My first thing is, okay, so you love the Monet. I would contact the Monet people, and let them know what you're thinking about. Let them know your problems. I would certainly start there if you love them. You had me at I love the Monette. What do you think, Carl? Would that be your?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're being very, very nice. You know, if we were at the bar halfway 3 sheets to the wind, we'd be like, we'll fix it. You know what? I gotta say, man, you know what? Brian said it best. You love the Monette. Well, let Dave stand behind his product, man. You know, he knows his stuff better than anybody. Let him help you out. And if he can't help you out, and then you have, you know, come to somebody that can. Dave has a lot in his and you know, they're approachable.
Absolutely.
He's on here too, man. He's a good cat. He'll help you out. Oh, he got another one here. Oh, it's a different cat. It's Jose. You get Jose's thing?
Yeah, I did. Okay, Jose. Good to see you, man. Just send me an email. I'll send you the playtest. Not a problem. Okay, so here's Carl. This is right up your alley. The 66M, but it digs in a little too much. So you may, in fact, Spencer, you may in fact benefit from Carl's rim, where the 66M rim is going to have a little more of a bite on the inner edge, and that's the same rim contour I play because I need that little bit of a smaller radius. Carl's is going to be you know, trying to make it look, you know, it's a little softer going in there. So yeah, so if that 66M rim is not doing it for you, you know, try a 3M or maybe one of Carl's models.
A 3M.
Make sure.
I would say a 3M or a Jazz GR CF signature.
Right.
On that.
And I'll also I can send you the play test so you can actually play test them for yourself. Remember that very, very crisp and clean articulations with a fast start to the note without air biscuits. That's what you're really looking for. So
that's
the softer
bite.
The
key to life right there. Sorry.
Absolutely. Because we both know you know, the audience is not going to hear very slight nuances in your sound, but they're going to hear if you're missing notes.
I want you to reiterate that. I can't say the word. I want you to reiterate that one more time because that is the thing, man. No air biscuits, soft attack, immediate attack on his play test.
Absolutely. And that's what the play tests are all about. They go through different aspects of your playing, and each one of them will determine a different parameter of the mouthpiece that needs to be looked at, or the match between the horn as well, because the horn player and mouthpiece almost match. But if you're getting the thoop, 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 sloppy articulations, you know, that's what we're here to clean up, really, as well as, you know, your sound and all that. But you're going to sound like you if you have a mouthpiece that matches yourself and your horn. We're just here to make it a little easier. Now, we've had a couple of questions here, if I can figure this out again.
Yeah. The play tests don't lie. You get Brian. Did you see this? Okay, thanks a ton.
Yeah, Josh. I just did a video with Josh the other day, and he demonstrated the play test and what happens if you have a mouthpiece that matches you and what doesn't. Thanks, Josh. You did a great job, by the way. If you want to chime in here, by all means, please do. Have a 3M.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm still trying to figure out how to scroll through some of these questions.
Okay, so Brian Jordan 00. Okay, great, thanks a ton. If I were to try to GR equivalent to the B4S S2, what would that be? So he's the Monette guy, equivalent to the B4S or S2. What would that be?
I'd have to look it up. I'm thinking 3C-ish. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'd have to see.
Yeah, no, it sounds right. So I would say, again, the 64 or 66. The 66 probably would be more up his alley.
Right. See, Josh is all over that. Josh is also a GR consultant and dealer, 66M, 3M, and Fischer Jazz. Yeah.
One.
We have a good team here. We have lots of guys chiming in, helping out. Okay, so Brian's a little bigger than a 3C. Okay, so you know the CF line certainly is worth a look. Also, like Josh says, 66M, 3M. It looks like we lost Carl again, so I'm going to let him go and just say Thanks. Oh, he's back. You're back. We got sound? No. Anyway, I'm just going to thank Carl Fischer very much for today. It's been very informative and very entertaining, of course. I think we're going to let him go. This has been our fourth time of trying to get the internet connection happening. Once again, please tune in on Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm going to be interviewing Sean Billings, very, very busy studio artist and performing artist. You'll have lots of great answers to your geeky questions. Until then, thanks very much. Thank you, Carl. Have a great day in lockdown. We'll be in touch.